Man, like I said, I heard one of your speakings before, especially on the Breakfast Club, the way you broke things down. It's always, every time I listen to you, it's kind of a opening mind thing right here, and that's what, our group is all about, keeping brothers' minds open about new things, especially even old things going in here. We have a lot of callers that want to come in. They want to, have a word in with you, Dr. Umar Johnson. V, can we pull our first caller?
And your mic is open.
Hello, Dr. Johnson. How you doing today?
How you doing there, brother?
Peace, bro.
Oh, I'm doing great, man. First of all, I want to thank you, Dr. Johnson, for getting on the call. And pardon my ignorance, I actually didn't know who you were until I started listening to your YouTube and some other stuff. And, man, I definitely appreciate, all of the knowledge and information you're putting out there. A lot of young brothers definitely need to hear this. And it's even opened my mind. I definitely like to consider myself, conscious and open to the type of stuff you're saying. So much appreciated. But so I ask my question quickly and then get off the line to get your answer. My thing is, based on a lot of stuff that I hear you say overall, it seems like one of the biggest problems I see is too many brothers are playing. Like, the main thing I see is difference between, like, white folks and black folks is white folks seem to play the long game when it comes to time. I'm talking about thinking, like, 50 years, 100 years down the road, or let's say in generations, like their kids, their grandkids, versus I see a lot of us, we don't tend to think that way. I don't even see a lot of people I know that think really 10, 15, 20 years ahead, let alone thinking about their grandkids and stuff like that. My question to you is this. What do you think is like the average, black man's responsibility when it comes to African Americans, kind of the things that we need to understand, whether it be like history in the last 30 years, whether it be what we need to do to contribute to things such as like your school, and then Charles, like what you're trying to do with the Brazil raffle, and then things like that, given we have things like the internet, so it makes it easier for us to kind of communicate, support each other. That's it.
The worst form of hell that any oppressed group can suffer is to be dependent upon your oppressor for your daily needs. That's the worst form of hell. To know that the person you must look to for your job, that you must look to for your housing, your clothing, your health care, the person that you must look to get these needs met absolutely cannot stand you. And I'm saying that to say that the only way we're going to be able to lessen the blow or the impact that white supremacy has on us as a people is to build our own institutions. You don't eliminate white supremacy's impact because you live in a country controlled by white racism. So you can't eliminate it, but you can reduce it by weaning your people off of their dependence of the white power structure. Institution building is where all of us should be focused. The nationalists, the socialists, the integrationists, the Nation of Islam, the Hebrew, the Moor, the Nawapian, the God in earth, the Muslim, the Christian, everyone should be focused on building institutions for our people. Schools, supermarkets, hospitals, factories, distribution. We're the only non-white folk in this country without distribution. Chinese have their own distribution. Latinos have their own distribution. Arabs have their own distribution. East Indians have their own distribution. Logistics, the moving of things from one place to another, is one of the top businesses on the planet, not just in this country, but on the planet. No matter what you make, it must be shipped, it must be driven, it must be flown, it must be floated. And so we have to get serious about distribution. We have to get serious about production. We do not manufacture. That is a big weakness of ours. We do not manufacture. We are only consumers. When a people do not manufacture anything, they cannot trap the money in their community. We often hear about how the white dollar goes around 12 times, and the Latino dollar goes around 8 times, and the Chinese dollar goes around 16 times. Well, you know why it's able to go around? Not just because they're loyal to each other and to their own businesses, but they manufacture. When people produce things that their community needs, it's easy to cycle the dollar. But when people do not produce anything that their community needs, how can you trap the dollar in the community? From a food chain perspective, we are the lowest feeder in the human food chain. We are the food. We are the vermin. We are the maggots that all the other races feed upon for their wealth, because we have no economic infrastructure. That's why the Chinese can rape your dollar, the Mexican can rape your dollar, the Latino can rape your dollar, the Jew, the Anglo-Saxon, the Arab, and the list goes on. People are flying in from all over the planet to come to the ghettos of America. Look at this. Look at this now. You have non-white people flying in from all the other six continents to come in and get rich off the black dollar, while we sit around talking about we can't build it unless we get help from the government. We can't build it unless Obama gives us an economic stimulus package. We can't build it unless we get a grant from Walmart or the Rockefellers or something like that. We don't need no outside help. The problem is the same unconscious programming that operated in the psyche of the Negro in slavery is the same unconscious programming that's operating in the psyche of the Negro right now in the 21st century. We are of the same subconscious conditioning. We still are not interested in building for ourselves. We still care about other people more than ourselves. We still love religion more than we love the community, and we still are too lazy to take the economic and political risks necessary for everyone else's feet. If we stay at the bottom, we are doomed to extinction.
Well, my thing is like this. Does that also have to do with the Willie Lynch letter? The crabs in the barrel mentality of the black man. That's my thing right there, because we're always jealous of each other. Okay.
Without question. Black people don't like to see other people progress. But why is that? That is rooted, that is also rooted in our lack of collective identity. In most African culture, the basic unit of existence is not the individual, it's the family and the community. You do not exist separate from the family and the community. In America, black people don't have that type of identity. We do not see ourselves primarily as a part of something larger. We see ourselves as our own separate individuality. In other words, every black man and woman in America is a nation unto themselves. They are a nation. Each individual black person is their own separate nation. They have their own separate thinking, their own separate way of life, their own separate selfish agenda. You don't find this amongst other people. Now, it's true, everyone has their individualistic agenda, no matter what color or culture you are. But yet, again, there's that collective consciousness rooted in culture that binds other people, not with us. So we do not represent something larger. We don't represent the community or the culture or the race or even the family. We simply represent ourselves. When I am a universe unto myself, you automatically become a competitor. You are automatically a competitor because I do not see you as a part of who I am. That's where the jealousy comes in. That's why we have so much competition, because there's no collective we. Everything is rooted in the individual I. Everything is I, you see. And then even when you look at our organizations, we may belong to an organization, so then we go from I to the we, but it's a small W, not a capital W. The capital W is the community. The capital W is the whole culture. The capital W is the whole race. We don't have the small W. You see, I'm a Garveyite. And myself, along with the other Garveyites, we're better than everybody else because we are Garveyites. So you have one brother, and he's with his other Nation of Islam brothers. Well, we're better than everybody else because we Nation of Islam or Hebrew or more. And I'm just using these names as examples, not to say that any one of these groups are practicing this type of wrongful thinking. But the point is, we will go from the individual I to the small we. So when you have a whole bunch of small we's, you know what you get? Tribalism. When you have a whole bunch of small we's, what do you get? Gangsterism, conscious gang banging. That's what you get. because we're working from a small we, a small W, and a small I instead of the big we. No collective identity that is greater than the schisms and the isms, and that is our downfall. Marcus Garvey said what? We are a race cursed with petty differences. Petty differences outside of white supremacy is our second biggest problem. First is white supremacy, and then it's petty differences, which is why we can never fight white supremacy, because we're always fighting over who's going to be in charge, which organization should lead, who's the most able to be a leader, of this or that or that, you know, and not to mention the amount of suspicion that we have for each other. We have what I call a paralyzing suspicion of each other. In other words, our suspicion of each other, which means no trustworthiness for one another, our suspicion of each other is so intense that it paralyzes our ability to work together. It is so intense that it paralyzes our ability to work together. And if there is no suspicion, we will manufacture some suspicion. And all of this is self-hate. All of these are just aspects of the self-hatred. The constant criticism, think about it. The only thing we are expert in as a people is criticizing and tearing each other down. Every black person has a PhD in negativistic criticism and deconstruction of someone else's program. We are masters at that. But that is the only thing we're known for is self-destruction.
It's absolutely true. I mean, like I said, every time you turn around, you see someone trying to tear down somebody, okay? You know, especially blacks. You know, we're always looking out towards the negatives, and we're always feeding on the negative, whether it's for entertainment purposes or anything like that. We're always working to tear each other down instead of building each other up. Now, at the end of the day, white folks, somewhere down the line, they come together and they try to fix their issues for the better good of their race, okay? But to keep us down, to keep us at war with each other, okay? I even have my own issues within my own group. Certain people, you know, it's always a jealous entity, a crabs-in-the-barrel mentality. We had a show about that a while back this year. A crabs-in-the-barrel mentality that black folks have that always cripples us and keeps us right where the white man wants us down, not owning any properties, okay, not running our own educational system, everything like that, okay. It's a sad situation. You know, it's a sad situation. I want to take in the next caller here real quick here. V, what's our next caller coming in?
Yes, our next caller is area code 609. Your mic is open.
Good evening, fellas.
Hey, good evening, brother. How you doing?
All right. My name is Jules. I'm a frequent caller and frequent listener to the show. Doctor, I'm a big fan of yours. But you hit it right on the head tonight. I mean, our biggest issue as a culture is we don't know how to stop being crabs in the bucket. Away from knocking each other down. And when there is a small group of us, you know, that is on a positive level and trying to move forward, there's so many of us who want to knock what we do because we're not falling into what we call the matrix, you know, as far as, oh, well, you know, like tonight Empire's on TV and, oh, you're not watching Empire because you're doing the talk radio show.
You're not in the in crowd, in other words. You're not following along with the pack.
But see, my thing is, I don't belong in the pack. See, I'm a firm believer. Leaders run with leaders. Followers follow behind followers.
That's right.
And we've gotten so far away from who we are and what our grandparents have fought for. You know, and what we really come from, we are acceptable to buy into anything they try to sell us. And a big issue that we have is if we really stopped and we look at that, we, like you said, that we buy into everything. The new Jordans drop tomorrow. How many white folks are standing in line? Compared to how many brothers are standing in line? And this is something we do, and I mean, and they feed us constantly. You know, anytime something new comes out, they look at it. Let's go to the hood. Let's put it on BET. We're not going back to building our own businesses, having our own school systems, our own supplies, where we can say we don't need what you have because we can build these resources ourselves. But yet we have it at a short attention span into anything that's positive, but we'll jump to the negative. Now, this past week, I did some research on Michael Jordan. Like I said, one of the greatest basketball players who ever played the game. But what has he ever done?
Ball player was my idol at one time, yes.
I mean, but let's be real. What has he ever done for his community?
Zero.
Now, I know there's some listeners that listen to this is like, oh, you know, that's not true. I mean, the facts are the facts. You can Google it. You know, he sold his name to another company who pushes out a product that we're the first ones to buy at $300, $400, $500 a pop.
Or kill each other for it. You know.
But let one of our own open a business, and I went through this past year myself. I opened a small business, and you know, in the beginning I had some support, but I seen how my own folks would go down the street to my competitor, whose prices were more expensive than mine, than keep their money in the neighborhood with one of their own. It's that crab in the bucket mentality that, you know, it wasn't looking at it like, oh, this young black brother's trying to do something positive, and I'm taking a percentage of the money I'm making and putting back into my community and back into sporting programs that I support, you know, in my own neighborhood. But you'll run down to the Indians, give them your money, won't complain about their prices when they're up charging you 50, 65%. But you want to come to your own and say, I need a deal, I need a discount.
And what I noticed too, I'm going to cut you off there, but what I noticed too is sometimes it's done just out of, well, you know what, I don't want to see him come up like that. You know, I don't want to see, I'm living tough, so you got to live tough too. I'll go down the street to the Indian and pay for him, you know. And I never could understand that. Why? Why would you not want to see your brother come up? You know, that's me. I don't have anything in my heart. You know,
we live by that. I see people who post things in the group with Charles. Is, you know, he has his arch nemesis, and I'm pretty sure she's listening tonight. How she took a statement that he made and turned it around like we're against the black woman. We're not against the black woman. We're asking our sisters to rise up. But the first thing is she wanted to say it as, and it's such an asinine statement that, you know, I'm a sister and I feel that I should be taken care of. But your grandmother wasn't like that.
Not mine.
So where's this mentality that, you know, all these things that come into the U.S. that we support as a culture, because like I said, we're the first ones to buy it. Come Christmas, let a new video game system drop, we're standing in line overnight to get it. And we do this time and time and time again. We'll stand for all the negative things there is in the world, and a handful of us will stand for the positive. We can't make a movement with 10 people out of 5,000. It'll never get done. You know, something that I've noticed, I live right outside of Philadelphia, is now when the president came to town, they didn't shut schools down. The local businesses weren't shut down. Now, the Pope coming to town, they're shutting down. You know, you said something earlier that I've been arguing with most of my life. I know a lot of Christians. I know a lot of Muslims. You know, I come from that old school Christian family. I may not agree with everything they have to say, but they'll be the first ones to tell you, oh, if you don't believe in my God, then you're wrong. Okay. All the cultures that of this world, if we all believed in the same thing, we'd be all following the same pattern. Blacks in our society, we tend to see anything that's different, it scares us, and we tend to want to beat it down or run away from it.
Or destroy it.
Exactly. But like I said, at 9 o'clock, instead of people stepping outside of the matrix and getting on the show and voicing their opinion or listening to something that most of us need to hear, they're tuning into Fox Network, who's owned by who? White folks, watching a show that's beating us down week in and week out. And it's not just Empire. It's on VH1. I sat through an episode of a tattoo show the other night in pure disgust because of the way they portray us. Like we can't have a business and get along. But they don't want to show that on TV. They want to show us trying to kill each other, trying to destroy each other's businesses because that pushes ratings. And it's just so unreal that we'll fall for that needle in the haystack all the time. But let a brother get on the air and have something positive to say. Oh, they don't want to hear it. It doesn't concern them. They have no part.
It's not entertainment. It's not entertainment. That's what I get. The number one excuse. It's not entertainment enough. He's not funny enough. Okay? There's not enough drama right here. Okay? And that's been the problem, you know? It's been a serious problem. You know, it's a sad situation. And we got to do things to turn this around because our ship is sinking. You know, our situations may be a little. Me and Dr. Omar. You know, Dr. Omar. Let me just tell you a little something about me. You know, I'm the type of guy that's telling brothers to, okay, maybe we can set up the Black Wall Street, but maybe not here in the U.S. Okay. You know, maybe Brazil, for example, in my case. All right, because I see a lot of opportunities in that country. You know, some people may agree with it, some people won't. But that's what I put out there. But thanks, caller, for calling in, man. You know, you got a list of callers coming through left and right. I really appreciate your call.
All right, we have the next caller. We got a rack of callers here. Direct your calls to Dr. Umar Johnson if you have a question. The next caller is, I guess, coming in from Skype or somewhere online. Your mic is open, 111.
Hello.
Your mic is open.
Mic's open.
909.
909.
All right, yeah, your mic is open.
Yeah, Doctor, I just have a question for you. You say you're a Garveyite, and I did listen to one of Marcus Garvey's speeches many, many years ago. And my question to you is that, does it frustrate you sometimes that you're actually repeating the exact same message that he repeated over 100 years ago?
It's not frustrating, only because I know that in order to push a message of African fundamentalism, of Pan-African nationalism on the people who have been trained and conditioned to hate themselves, that's a great task. And of course, Mr. Garvey, having transitioned to the realm of the ancestors so young, he wasn't able to finish it. And the Pan-Africanists who came before him, they weren't able to finish it. So it's going to take a while to achieve that type of transformation, because it requires a total change in the current paradigm of black thought. But I know it's the only change that is worthwhile, so I have to keep on pushing. And even if it's not achieved in my lifetime, I'll pass it down to my nephews and so forth and so on. So I'm not frustrated by, great things require great effort. And so we just have to keep on going. Not only are we fighting the negative energy in our community, but we're also fighting organized resistance from the power structure. I mean, the white man knows that if black people in America ever got very serious about their predicament and very serious about Africa's predicament, there could be a true economic revolution in this world. So, he don't want to hear that Pan-African piece. He don't want black people thinking about nothing outside of America. He wants you to stick to civil rights and fighting for that type of stuff. He don't want you to get involved in global economics because that's his realm. And when you start talking about Pan-Africanism, you deal with global economics. And that is a very, very touchy topic for the white power structure because they know that is the Achilles heel of the entire global domination movement.
Okay, on to the next caller, area code 612. Your mic is open.
Hello, I'm on the line.
Yes, you are. Welcome to the show.
How you doing, brothers? My name is Emmanuel from Minneapolis, long-time listener. How you doing, Dr. Umar Johnson? It's an honor to have you on the call tonight.
Thank you, bro.
Basically, all the point is, all the brothers have been speaking of, I'm in total agreement with. And one thing I would like to say is, I was born here in America. My parents are from Liberia. One thing that my father told me when he came here in 1971, a friend of his that passed away a while ago now, one of his best friends, told him that my father told him that when he got to America, white folks were telling my dad, those blacks, you stay away from them now.
Mm-hmm.
Stay away.
I heard, yes.
And
I heard that before, yes.
Oh, yeah, and it constantly happens. And these white people were the ones that were at the embassy. They were telling them to stay away from this or that. So basically what I'm saying is, some of us, because the system that we're born in, we look at our fellow African brother or sister, and we have this aura about us where we feel as if some of us now that we're better than. And even the African, him or herself, feels as if that they are better than. But basically what I'm saying is, we're all in this, we're all in it together. And if you see, I don't care where they're coming from, West, East, South Africa, I don't care. I don't care where they're coming from. We all need to, have that relationship because we're all what we have. I forgot where I'm trying to get at, but basically we are our own friend. We are our own family, especially the West Africans. We, as to my knowledge, as far as I know, the blacks that are here, that's what we are. So I don't know. I love what you're doing, Dr. Umar Johnson. This is I'm just happy to be on the call. That's all I have to say.
All right. Thanks for your call. And
we have plenty of callers. For people that want to get in on a conversation with Dr. Umar Johnson, call 347-855-8802. That's 347-855-8802. And we'll be back in 1 minute.
Chicken wings for that money, even though they was no good.
Okay. All right, we're back with the Charles. We got a bunch of callers, people. Ask one question. Don't get long-winded. Just ask one question. 714, your mic is open.
Hey, what's going on, my brothers, the host, and what's going on, brother Dr. Umar Johnson, the young lion. Okay, I'm not going to be long. What's going on? I'm calling from Indianapolis, Indiana. Just moved out here to Los Angeles and stuff like that. So, Dr. Umar, I just known about you probably 5 months ago. I mean, I first saw you on Hidden Colors, like your face. I remember your face on Hidden Colors. And, man, I am so aware of the stuff you do. Matter of fact, I belong to the black church, and you were so right. Matter of fact, I'm going to my tithe that I pay every 2 weeks, I'm going to redirect that to your school. And what I like for you to do, can you explain what's going to be taking place at your school and what's the cost it is for the boys? That's it.
Oh, certainly. The Frederick Douglass and Marcus Garvey Academy is going to be America's first residential academy for black boys based on revolutionary economics and Pan-Africanism. And so they come into the school understanding that they will not be looking for a job, but that they will be making their own job. And we will train them and teach them and educate them in multiple pathways to wealth acquisition and economic generation. So there will be a real estate program. There will be a stock investing and trade program. They will be taught how to do taxes in high school. They will also have their own business plan. We want to have all of the building trade programs occupied at the school, your carpentry, your bake, your cosmetology, your plumbing, your electrical work. We also want to have an aviation program as well as a maritime academy, very important. We do not have a single black-owned airline, African-American-owned airline in this country, nor do we have a black-owned shipping line in this country, not major ones. So that's something that will be opportunities for our young people as well. College, our school is going to differ from every other school because every other school in this country right now, even the good black schools, are basically preparing our children for college. That's the whole purpose of going to school. That, to me, is a recipe for disaster. Black children aren't getting anything with their college degrees. We have over 2 million black people with master's degrees and doctorate degrees who cannot find work. So if you're only educating my daughter so she can be accepted into a college, so she can take out a $500,000, $250,000 in student loans, and then won't even be able to find a job that will help her pay those loans back, then that tells me that the average school in America is only preparing our children for poverty. That's what that is. You're going to school so you can be poor. Because if school is preparing you for college, and college is only going to give you a degree that's not going to make you equitable in the job market, and on top of that, you're going to have to pay back $250,000 in student loans, then your education in school was to put you right back into the ghetto. So we're going to change that. We're going to transform that. We will have political and military science. We will teach our young people the art of self-defense. We will also teach them white supremacy and how it operates. We will also have dietary and nutritional science where we teach them how to master herbology, how to heal the human body without pharmaceuticals. Okay, we will also teach them armed physical combat, and we will also teach them weapons training, how to clean a rifle, how to put the rifle together. We will have a shooting range on the campus where they can perfect their sharp shooting skills. We will also have an African spiritual and cosmological curriculum where we teach them about ancestral veneration, where we teach them about how we dealt with the Most High God before there was any Abraham, any Moses, any Jesus, or any Muhammad, although we will respect any religion that the children come to the school with because we're not a religious institution, but we will be a spiritual institution. On top of that, we will be teaching our young people the art of community organization and leadership. This is important. It is the Frederick Douglass and Marcus Garvey International Leadership Academy. So leadership is key to what we're going to be doing at the school because our people need leadership. Every people needs leadership, but we don't have appropriate leadership. And a lot of that comes from our a religious immaturity that has most of us believing that we have to pray for a leader or we wait for the leader to find us. That's basically how Black America has operated for almost 400 years. We will pray for the leader or the leader will come and find us. And that has not helped us very well because basically in a Black America, anybody can be a leader if they decide to be one. As opposed to being chosen by the people, the leaders choose the people. That is totally backwards. You don't choose the people. The people are supposed to choose you. But that's the problem we have. So we're going to reverse that by making sure our young people understand leadership, which is a whole curriculum in and of itself. I mean, controlling your ego, okay, being selfless, having the discipline of a leader, being fearless. I mean, there's a whole curriculum that goes with just being a leader for African people, the type of leader that we need. So anyone who wants to donate to the school, they can donate at GoFundMe.com/Dr. Umar. Again, that's GoFundMe.com/DrUmar. If they want to mail in their donation, they can mail the donation in to FBMG Academy, P.O. Box 6872, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, 19132. They also should be sure to put their name, their phone number, and their email address on the check or money order if they're mailing it in, because I want to be sure to keep a log of everyone who has made a donation so that when we finally open up the school, we will be able to invite them out. I want to honor and celebrate all of those who help make the school a reality. If anyone wants to work at the school, please send me your resume to FDMG Resumes, RESUMES @gmail.com. Yes, we need math teachers, we need language teachers, we need science teachers, we need social studies, but we also need people who can farm. We need barbers, we need security guards, secretaries, nurses, counselors, bus drivers, house parents. I mean, we need so many people that we're going to have more non-instructional staff than instructional staff because we're going to have a very revolutionary way of educating our children. So it's not just book learning. Literacy is only one part of education. We want to educate our children for liberation. And so, therefore, they will be reading books that a lot of children never read. They will be studying subjects that a lot of children never study. By the time they graduate from the 12th grade, they would have received an education that is equal to a white child with a master's degree.
Okay, I mean, that school is definitely something that we definitely need in the Black community. It seems that you would definitely prepare young Black youths for entrepreneurship, you know, and basically self-empowerment that we don't get from the schools today. As we speak right now, I just put your GoFundMe link in our Facebook group, Afro-American. So the other 6 groups will be carrying this link. I'm going to mark this down as okay. And a lot of our listeners are definitely going to support, you know, the Marcus Garvey, the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy, you know, because this is something that we definitely need. We need a university, if I will, for a true one, that can teach blacks, young Black youths, okay, self-empowerment, self-worth, okay, and how important entrepreneurship should be. So I believe that we always want to go when we go to the universities, we go to the schools and everything like that, and we just normally get education just to be workers. You know, put money right back into the white man's pocket. You know, and it's a sad situation. It's a constant cycle, and that explains why we are where we are right now. You know, so we're definitely going to get that word out, Dr. Omar. No doubt on this one right here. We got to go on to our next caller here.
We have a caller from the state of Florida, 407 area code. Your mic is open.
Hey, Charles. How you doing? This is Winston calling from Brazil. I'm doing this fine. Dr. Umar Johnson, how you doing? It's a pleasure to have you. It's a pleasure to listen to what you're saying. I have a 2-pronged question, but I'm going to try and keep it down to one. Okay. Based on the colonial movement that took place, you know, in the early years of raping and pillaging the different states, you know, across Africa, and everything, and now they're having these problems with these refugees, flooding these European nations, and the rest of the world is making restitutions or preparations, for them to come into the country. Okay, what would you say, to those countries, that are having these crises, especially the African countries where there's no jobs, no nothing, and what is being done? Okay, this is the second part. What is being done to connect? On a global movement, to do the same thing that you're doing for your school, but on a global scale. Okay, so I want to hear more about the solutions. I understand the problems, and we can talk about empire and all that, all that stuff, but I want to hear more about the solutions of what is being done, and how can I be pointed in that right direction, so I can contribute in more ways than one. Maybe a little bit of financial, maybe a little bit of educational, and things of that nature. That's the end of my question.
Mm-hmm. Well, the problem with Africa is the same problem we have in America. In America, you got black people in 50 different states, and there's no organization within the state or across the state. That's the same problem that you have in Africa. You have 55-plus nations, with very little organization within it and very little between the nations. We have the African Union, but the African Union is really an African Union only on paper, because most of the countries who belong to the African Union are dependent on handouts from the European countries in order to survive. The basic challenge for African people everywhere, because we're the same everywhere. It doesn't matter where we go, the challenges are almost identical, and they stem from hopelessness. Black people are punch drunk from white supremacy. We're punch drunk. You ever watch a fight and the one fighter beat up the other? Take a Mayweather fight, okay? Mayweather pounded the guy so much that by the time they get to the 10th round, the guy's just going through the motions. He hasn't lost yet, but he ain't trying to win. He hasn't lost, but he ain't trying to win. That's black people. We're just waking up every day, going through the motions. We haven't totally lost yet, but we're not trying to win. We have no vision. We lack the belief that we can change our reality. And that is the greatest victory that an oppressor can ever have over an opponent. That's the greatest victory. To convince you can't beat me. That is the greatest victory a bully has over the other kid he's bullying. Once I get in your head, see, I can kill you, I can enslave you, I can colonize you, I can exploit your community, but as long as you got breath in your lungs, you can come back, because no man is greater than any other man. So every man has the power, and woman has the power within them to overcome any oppression, because God made us equal. There are no graders. So if you're being oppressed, it's only because you are, number one, allowing it, and because you haven't figured out the strategy to overcome it. But you can, because we are equal. But once your opponent gets in your head, gets into your head and make you think that beating me is impossible, once he's affected that in your thinking, then you have lost. White supremacy's greatest victory and is not in the wealth, is not in the military might, it's not in the organization, it's in the psychology. It's the fact that he's convinced black folk that he cannot lose. Once you convince another man that you cannot lose, it's over. And that's where we are.
Got into his head.
Now, the solution is simple. You ain't got to have a lot of talk on that. The solution is very simple. And the solution is independent. Black people have to buy their own land, they have to build their own institutions, their own industry, and we have to create our own community infrastructure. Land, institutions, industries, and infrastructure, period. We know that. Every community that comes to America does the same thing. They get some land, a neighborhood. They build their institutions to serve the people. They build their industries to finance the institutions. And then infrastructure to make sure they have all the programs and systems and processes that they need. We know the system. We know the solution. It's all around you. The problem is getting people interested enough to bring the solution into fruition. That's our problem. We're not stuck on the solution. We're stuck on the unity and the commitment. The unity, what are the two biggest problems for black folks? Unity, petty differences, commitment, coming up with excuses for why we can't do it. We lack commitment, and we lack commitment at every level. We lack commitment from the scholars. We lack commitment from the traditional black leadership cartel. We lack commitment from the college-educated young black folks who are probably the least committed I've seen in a long time. I mean, my goodness. They're not interested in nothing but they self. You see,
exactly.
Brothers and sisters, listen, I'm ready to get the hell up out. If we can do better somewhere else, Dr. Umar,
I get the same as well. I get the same as well. You know, we got a lot of brothers who want to go. Now, I don't know how you know, your insight as far as Brazil. I get a lot of brothers.
Nothing wrong with South and Central America. I think those are also places that should be considered. The closer you get to America, though, the greater the control over the government by this government through influence. But I don't see anything wrong with it, especially with Brazil, you know, with its high African population there. But we must include Africa, though, in the repatriation program.
Of course.
Because it's the richest continent on the face of the earth. I mean, Africa has more mineral wealth than all the countries in the Caribbean and South and Central America put together. So, you know, the mother continent must always be a major focus, but I see nothing wrong with spreading the love around the globe. In fact, I'm looking at some of the Caribbean countries as a potential site for the school as well, you know, particularly the Virgin Islands. So I see nothing wrong with that. We can look at all of those. But if anyone's interested in that, just send me an email, drumarjohnson@yahoo.com, or through the website, drumarjohnson.com, or you can even text me, 215-989-9858. Again, my cell, 215-989-9858. But we're going to be moving on that. Now, to answer your question, what's wrong with just getting up and doing it now? Three things that have to be considered. Nothing's wrong with getting up and doing it now. Nothing. People repatriate to Africa every day. But three things that have to be considered. Number one, we got to be careful about leaving the children behind. We got to recognize that our best minds are the children who have not yet been tampered with. If we get up and go, we still have to leave some of us here so that we can raise and educate and socialize and prepare our children, because they're the future. So we don't want to get up and leave all of our young children with these unhealthy, psychologically unhealthy black parents to raise them. So you don't want to abandon the children without a plan of action. That's number one. Number two, the unity. The unity. The worst thing we can do is go to Africa and see our brothers and sisters in Africa observe us fighting like cats and dogs over there. They will lose total faith in us. They will lose total faith in us. If we get over there and start the same petty tribalism that the conscious community has here, they will never they will laugh at us, because all you're doing is what they're doing. They have tribal differences, and we come over there with our Negro differences. They'll lose faith in us. So you got to deal with the unity piece. And then number three, practice imperfection. I believe that before we take any system over to Africa, if we can help it, we should try to perfect it here. Perfect it here, so when you go to Africa, there's no room for error. There's no waste of resources, no waste of money. We know how to do it because we did it in America. America is the practice ground. It is not the permanent ground. It is the practice ground. So if we're trying to build an independent community, build it here. So when you take it back home, you know exactly how it's going to run. You know exactly how much you need. You know exactly who's going to do what. I see America as the practice ground for the independent communities that we build in Africa and in other black nations around the world. So not leaving the children behind, making sure the petty differences were left behind, and then practice imperfection before we go home.